Hello everyone, I'm Kathy Powers, Superintendent with the Twinsburg City School District. Welcome to Twinsburg Schools Today. Well, we are in the month of February, and of course in our school district we are celebrating Black History Month throughout the month of February. But you know, it's not just about February, but it's about every single month of the year and making sure that our students feel safe and feel included and feel part of who we are as a school district and the school community. If you take a look at our district website, you'll find a calendar of events for the month of February, and I hope that you're able to participate, if not in the events, by having conversations with your children when they come home from school about the many things and the many ways that we're celebrating Black History Month in the Twinsburg City School District. So speaking about being safe and making sure that our school district is a great place for our students to attend school every day, we are very thankful that our Board of Education and the City of Twinsburg, as well as the Summit County Sheriff's Office, provide an extra layer of security for our students and for our staff, and that is through our school resource program. And so today's show, we're going to feature one of our school resource officers, Officer Nate Milhoan. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, I'm excited that you're here too, Nate. Thank you so much for all that you do in our school district. And in particular, you are assigned at our middle school, R.B. Chamberlain Middle School.
Yep.
So can you explain what made you think, as a patrol officer in our wonderful city, to go from being a patrol officer now to the role of a school resource officer? Why was this something that you were interested in doing?
Well, this actually started way before I became a police officer. So I'm a huge soccer fan, and was fortunate enough to go to college and get a degree and also play soccer. And then right after that, right after I graduated, I got into coaching youth soccer. So through the course of my past, I ended up becoming a police officer about 6 years ago. And I always knew that at some point in my career I would love to get to working directly with kids. So I didn't think it would come so early in a career, being 6 years, but when I got the opportunity, I jumped on it right away. I absolutely love it. While working on patrol as well, anytime I see the kids out shooting baskets in the neighborhood, throwing football, stuff like that, I try to get out of the car and play with them a little bit as well. So I'm just super excited to have the opportunity.
So as a patrol officer, when you want to become a resource officer, is there training, or what kinds of things did you do to prepare for this role in our schools?
Yeah, so when the previous school resource officer, now Sergeant Beata, took the promotion, it was put out by the chief as to who would be interested in it. So, I put my name in the hat. And then, again, fortunate that, my name got called and I got to go to SRO training. It was an online, full week online class that you become certified as a school resource officer. And then I also, was able to become a DARE officer as well. That was a 2-week long course where I got to go live in Columbus for 2 weeks. So, being away from the family was a little weird, but
Sure.
it was a lot of fun, and still stay in contact with all those other DARE officers as well. So super excited to be a part of that as well.
You jumped in with 2 feet.
Yeah, right away. like I said, and Chief and Lieutenant as well said, if you're gonna be a part of it, man, you got to jump in. And I was like, let's go.
That's right.
That's how I operate. So
you're a soccer coach in the evening and an SRO during the day, and I would imagine there are similarities to how you manage your team as a coach and what you do in our schools.
Yeah, my biggest thing is I want to make sure that not only my team but also the kids in the school feel safe. And I try to pride myself in being approachable as well. It's not just walking around the school making sure all the doors are locked and everything like that. It's making sure, if the kids know of something that may be happening or anything like that, they can come directly to me and they feel safe to come to me. And we can kind of mitigate that before anything actually were to take place. So
building trust.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, every time I walk into the middle school, you are never in the office, right? You are always out with the kids, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And just getting to know them, and I think it's building a sense of trust
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When I first got into the school, that you had your handful of kids that were, coming up to me, high fiving me right off the bat, didn't even know me, were high fiving me.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the other ones that I had to warm up to them a little bit. Like you said, gain that trust. So, that was where I see those kids, and I'm like, by next week they're going to be running up to me, high fiving me. So, if I pride myself, and there should be no kid in that school right now that doesn't know who Officer Nate is.
That's
so,
right. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I love.
So, with regard to the role as a DARE instructor, you went to school for 2 weeks, and I remember having conversations with you, and you tell me how rigorous that was. It wasn't not an easy course that you had to take on.
Yeah, you can fail out of that course, which is pretty intense knowing that going into it. So, it was. You think 8 o'clock starting the class at 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock at night. Well, then you got your group project you got to do. After that you have homework you got to do.
Goodness.
Lesson plans you got to write. So you were going to bed around 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Even being out of class after 5. So you got dinner in between there.
That's good, right?
Yeah. So it was a lot of work, but it paid off in the end. So
as a former principal, as at an elementary school, I just remember the DARE officers. This was when I was principal in Bedford at Columbus Intermediate School, and the officers would come in and teach the DARE lessons. And fast forward to 2022-23, how different the world has become, and the dangers that we used to talk about to my students when I was principal are so different than what we're talking about with kids today. What are some of the topics that you cover in DARE instruction, or maybe as an SRO too?
Exactly. That's what I really love about the DARE program and the DARE curriculum now, is that it's based off of, it's not all about, don't do drugs. It's a lot of, hey, make the right choices. If you're put in this situation, here's your options that you have in order to make the right choice. It goes into bullying as well. I know bullying is a huge topic nowadays, and it just shows the kids, what outlets they have, and how to make the right decision and all of that. So I love it. It's a 10-week long course. I know you spend a couple weeks in regards to drugs, alcohol, tobacco, but then the rest of it is all based off of right choices, how to communicate, nonverbal communication, your body language, stuff like that. And the kids actually were really fond of the nonverbal, because you show them and you teach these kids how to communicate without even saying any words. And it's something that we do, but we never really think about. So like bringing that to light for the kids was really cool, because they're like, oh my gosh, there's a whole new language, that isn't just talking. So I really enjoy it. And the biggest thing I love about DARE and teaching it to the 6th graders is all those 6th graders come next fall will know exactly who I am when they come to the middle school. So, building those relationships now with DARE in the 6th grade, it's just going to be our bond is only going to be even stronger, come next year when they're 7th graders in the middle school.
That's right. It's all about that trust factor. And, to your point about the nonverbals, we talk about it, maybe a little bit, but to have that as part of the DARE curriculum is really fantastic, actually, to allow kids time to think through, role play, those kinds of things. And if not in that curriculum, when else does it happen, honestly? What about, say, cybersecurity and internet safety and all that? Is that part of it as well? Yeah,
I mean, that is a huge one. That's one that the last couple years that I've was on the road before becoming a school resource officer, there's a lot of incidents and calls that I would take that had to do with cell phones and all of that. And it's the technology is great, and we talk about it. And in the bullying chapter of DARE, we talk about cyberbullying and it being a huge topic. And technology, in my opinion, is phenomenal. These kids, it's crazy what these kids can do, with technology nowadays. But it's bringing, it's letting them know as well that, when you post something or when you say something online or through a text message or something like that, it's there forever. Whether kids can take a screenshot of it or whatnot, but somewhere up in the cloud or whatever, the digital cloud is always there. So I always tell them, if it's not something good to, if it's probably not the best thing to say, don't say it. Don't post it, nothing like that, because it can come back. Whether maybe not immediate, or you might be applying for a job, years down the line, that somebody can find what you posted back then. And it's like, if it's not building someone up, if it's not making somebody happy, or making someone else's life better, just don't post it, don't send it,
Right.
Stuff like that. So
Well, it is the world that young folks live in is the here and now,
Yep.
and sometimes they don't think about the tomorrow, and so those lessons that you're teaching the students and reiterating in the conversations are so important. We struggle a lot, I think every school district in the nation does, with internet safety and helping kids understand that what's put out in the cloud is never going to go away. And we've had circumstances with employees, candidates, and we do a little bit of background check online, and if we see things, they don't get a job. And
Yeah.
so scholarships and employment are all at peril if you're going to be putting something out there that's ridiculous.
yeah, I mean, it's like I said, technology is amazing, but as amazing as it is, it can very quickly be used against you if you don't use it for the right reasons.
Right.
So and I try to bring that to light, whether it's trying to give a life lesson to the soccer team I coach for, or even the sixth graders, or even the middle school kids. So again, if it's not something good to say, my advice is just don't even bother saying it.
Yeah. So back to the role at the middle school. I know that every day is probably different. But if you could characterize what a day of a school resource officer would look like in a summary way, what does that look like?
Yeah,
in the world?
starting right off, the buses roll in, we got to make sure the kids get from the bus, inside the school. It's not a far walk, but, making sure they're safe getting in there. And then once the kids are, in school, that first bell rings, making sure they get into the classroom so they can get attendance, stuff like that. In between there, they got some time that I'll check on how their day's going, stuff like that, give them the high fives. And then once they're in their classrooms for first period, I'll go around, make sure all the exterior doors are locked, and just kind of do my sweep of the school for the day. And then from there, check some email, stuff like that while they're in that first period, and then always trying to be in those hallways during class change, making sure there's a presence. And then when lunch rolls around, I'm always in the lunchroom. They're able to shoot some baskets, stuff like that, for a couple minutes in between lunch. So I'll go in there. I might shoot a basket with a couple of the kids, try to again grow that bond, but really be in the presence there.
So, and during that, not to catch up, but during those exchanges, whether it's in the hallway or shooting baskets in the gym, or as you're helping kids in and out of the buildings, I'm quite sure that you hear things, or you kids tell you things that help us to maybe look into matters that could be safety concerns.
For sure, yeah, and and it's being observant. I know, by now, every kid that walks in, I read body language. That's police officers' job is not just to have a conversation with somebody, but also read that nonverbal communication, that body language. So, if I see a kid that usually walks in all laughing, smiling, stuff like that, he comes in, he or she comes in and is down, and doesn't look right. That's a cue. That's like, hey, let me go talk to them. We'll walk them to class. Just see how they're doing, or seeing or hearing some kids are like, hey, these two kids, we're arguing last night on video game or whatever like that. So go in there and talking to both of them. Hey, how's it going today? Trying to figure it out. Like I said, kind of take care of it before you have to take care of it.
Right.
So.
And Mr. Reese, the principal at the middle school, has told me on many occasions that when we have a serious situation happen, it could be a student who could be a something happens in the community in the evening, on the weekend, and sometimes the kids come to school and they're just in a bad mood, and if you don't manage it right, then we have a bigger issue to take care of.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if they're, if somebody comes in upset, I mean, we've all been upset, and then you have someone else that comes in and might say something that might even trigger you even further. So making sure, and the nice thing too is if I have a real good relationship with the night shift guys that work the road, and the guys on the weekend. So we stay in constant contact. So if they ever run into any of our middle school kids or high school kids throughout the weekend or really outside of school, they'll at least just give me a text or a phone call like, hey, just letting you know we spoke to so and so today, or we came across so and so. So if I get those texts or calls, and it's not very often. I mean, our kids are great. They, our police department doesn't usually have to, go to too many calls with them. But I'll try to make an effort to get to them right as they're walking into school to just to ask them like, hey, how was your interaction with my guys on the road? I heard they you have spoken to them, stuff like that. So it seems like they're pretty excited about me knowing, and it's a shock too, like me knowing what happened. And they're like, how'd you hear about that? And, so it's just always being present, if
Part of the team.
Yeah, if you sit behind a desk and never interact with the kids, you don't know what their usual demeanor is and stuff like that.
Sure.
So,
we talk in the world of education a lot about coming off of a pandemic and some challenges students have with mental health. And another great thing about the district is we have Beach Brook counselors that help resolve matters related to mental health. And I know in your role at the middle school that you work closely with not only our Beach Brook staff, but also our school counselors, administration, when we're trying to figure out a puzzle that happens to be a student's situation. So how do you see yourself fitting into that kind of a team and problem solving and helping to resolve those kinds of concerns?
Yeah, so what I really like what RBC does is the check-in and check-out program, and I actually mentor one of the kids in the check-in and check-out. So it's really cool getting to know a kid even a little bit more than usual, and seeing how he progresses throughout the day and stuff like that. And we, like you said, I'm in constant contact with the Beach Brook crew and the guidance counselors to if I see something, it's always making sure we're all on the same page. So if something's happening, or there's two kids arguing, let's get their vice principal, let's get their guidance counselor involved, to mediate that, between them and all of that. So yeah, the biggest thing is just making sure everybody is on the same loop when it comes to the administration and teachers as well. And I try to check in as well with all the teachers, pop into a classroom, say hi, because I want those teachers coming to me too if there's something going on, or if they see something, because they, as much as I see stuff in the hallway, they see it even more in the classroom. So if not only the kids know to come and they can come talk to me, if I can get the teachers to also be able to be like, hey, Officer Nate, I saw this happening today, so I'm able to, kind of use that to my advantage and make sure that there's no crazy things that happen or, major incidents. So
I was actually at Dodge yesterday, meeting with a group of teachers, and we were talking about our strategic plan, and one area is safety. And we were talking about just things that we have in place this year relative to the safety part of the strategic plan. And it was very surprising, but maybe not so much, that they are very complimentary about that, school resource officers. And I just feel like there's an extra layer. They don't have to be necessarily that vigilant because they know there's somebody there to take care of the things that would otherwise be up to them as far as the school safety piece goes.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that may get misconstrued, is that, oh, if you put a police officer in the schools, they're just going to put handcuffs on everybody, all the kids, and take them out. It's like, that's not what we are. We're the in between. We're trying to help the school, help administration, help teachers, help the kids not get to the point where the officers on the road have to come in, and put handcuffs on kids or whatnot. That is what we are absolutely trying not to do. So, we're very much, I consider myself like I said, the in-between the school and, and what we call the road units. So, if we can handle it with myself, with the administration before, and keep it, within the school, that's the best case. That's the best case scenario.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, like I said, I think every school should have a school resource officer. The same thing. I get to see the kids every day. I know these kids. The road units don't have the luxury of knowing who these kids, getting to know these kids day in and day out. So when they see them, it's only really on a one-off type of an event. So, I want those kids to, if they do have to, see the officers outside of school, they can be like, hey, I know Officer Nate. And, and they can open up to those guys through me.
That's right.
So.
That's right. So beside always taking care of RBC and Dodge as far as the DARE program goes, you're committed to our community in large. And one of the things that you did recently was write a grant.
Yeah.
And we have evidence of that grant here today. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about what this is and why this was an important thing for you to do? Yeah,
so it's super cool. I was through passing talking to Chief Mason, and he had showed me a clip from a local news station of a school resource officer over in Streetsboro. And the school resource officer was able to get what we call autism kits for all of their cruisers. So I did some digging, got in contact with that school resource officer, and was able to actually reach out to the Husman Institute for Autism, which is actually based out of Baltimore. And through conversations, they actually were able to give us 12, they donated 12 of these autism kits for our cruisers. And the biggest thing for us as police officers is that we want to have as many tools as we possibly can for any incident that comes up, because we never know what incident, we're ever going to be a part of. So what these kits are what these kits are better ways for our officers to be able to communicate with autistic kids. So we have a lot of materials here, some flashcards as well, for the nonverbal kids. They can just able to point, help our officers out. We're able to point and let the kids know, you're safe if they're, nonverbal or anything like that. Same thing. They can point if they're hungry or they need some water or they need a break. We can point, we can just have them point directly to that. And then there's some other sensory toys. We have
the llama.
Yeah. llama red pajama.
That's
so
right.
We got a stuffed animal. Yep, pop socket.
This is a really good thing.
Yep.
I was telling Officer Milhoan before we got on the show today that my niece is a young teenager who happens to have been identified as an autistic person, and all of these things I could see how they would help Grace if she were in a situation where maybe a family member wasn't nearby. And for her, sensory overload is one of the things. So to have the earphones to sort of shut out some of the overload would be a really good idea for her.
Yep, the earphones, if they're sensitive to light, you have
sunglasses.
the sunglasses as well. You have the stress ball in there. And then the coolest thing in there is the lava lamp.
This is my favorite thing.
Right, exactly. So and again, this is all just stuff that if an officer, goes to a house or is on an incident, is able to help us communicate directly, with somebody with autism, because, they're out of their comfort zone. Anytime that, we're having to show up to a house or something like that, most of the time they're out of their comfort zone. So having this kind of stuff there, again, is just another tool on what we call our tool belt, that we can use to, make the incident as peaceful or as,
less scary.
Yeah, less scary for them as possible.
For sure. I can't even imagine not being able to communicate, and in a situation where the police officer shows up with lights on, or maybe not lights on, but still, they don't know you, they're afraid of you, and so nonverbal they can't explain.
Yep.
but being able to point to a keyboard or being able to point to a flashcard with a picture will go a long way in helping that person. And it could be an adult person that has a disability too,
correct.
and not necessarily always a child. So
Yeah, and
this
this
is great.
that institute's super awesome as well. They also do trainings. You know, whether they come out to us or we can use a training through Skype or Zoom or whatever it is. That they will actually train our officers on how to use this equipment and also the different cues and stuff like that. If in the event we're ever in a situation where we would need to use this. So,
well, here's what I get out of this. And I know you're a trained police officer, and I've seen you having to deal with situations that would otherwise be unsafe, right? So I know you have the mentality of that, and you work hard, and I so respect you as a police officer. But the other side of you is this person who really cares so deeply.
yeah.
Not just only about our kids that go to the school, but people, adults or young ones who can't communicate. And so you've done some extra work, and now we've got these kids in every police cruiser at Twinsburg.
Yeah, and through this whole process too of getting the kits, it's really nice because I gained another school resource officer friend with the school resource officer over in Streetsboro, and it's cool being able to bounce ideas off of one another and all of that. So same thing with all the DARE officers as well that I've met through our training. So we stay in communication and bounce ideas. Hey, did this work in your school? Oh, hey, let me try it in that kind of cool stuff. So being able to bounce ideas off and figure out what works with kids and what doesn't is kind of the name of the game. So
For sure. It's all the network is really important.
Yep.
I know we get through life with having our network, so that's a good thing.
for sure.
Well, Officer Milhoan, I want to thank you for all that you do.
Thank
for
you very
keeping
much.
us safe, keeping our students safe, keeping me safe. We've had occasions where you've been where I needed you to be too, and I just thank you so much for your dedication to our kids, our community, to all of our residents, and you are really. We're just so fortunate that you are part of our Tiger family, and I thank you for being a part of our show today.
I am super excited, and like I said, I knew I wanted some facet of being a school resource officer. Like I said, I didn't think it'd come so early in the career, but I'm jumping full, both feet in and running with it. So I'm super excited. I love it.
And we're very grateful.
Yep.
Well, thank you
sure.
for being here.
Hey, thank you very much.
Well, that concludes our show for today. I thank you for joining us for the Twinsburg City School District's Twinsburg Schools Today show. We hope that we see you soon at one of our very many events in the Twinsburg City School District. Have a great day, everybody.